For me, one of the fascinating bits was you kind of speculating on what he might have been thinking about when he was on that famous road to Damascus, because I thought that was quite interesting. You know, what was occupying Paul's mind at the moment when that famous event occurred? So do you want to just walk us through that? Because I think this is probably the most famous conversion in all of history, in a way.
Yes, if conversion is the right word. Right. And let me say...
that's the key.
Well, but right off the top, the danger with saying conversion is that what that word means in our world, if I say so-and-so just got converted, the chances are this means that so-and-so was probably an atheist or an agnostic, and they have now found some sort of faith. And one would hope it might be Christian faith. That's not really at all what's going on for Paul, and it's certainly not about swapping from one religion to another. That's the layers of misunderstanding there in terms of what the word religion meant in the ancient world, in terms of what the word religion means in our world. Neither of those fit what's happening to Paul. Paul always had believed in the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, the creator God. He never for a moment stopped believing in that God. He was living in a narrative which said, all those ancient promises have got to come true. God's got to show that he's in the right, that he meant what he said, and that he's going to renew the whole world. Quite possibly, not all Jews believe this, through a Messiah who will come and do justice and reestablish the temple in Jerusalem so that God will come back and live there gloriously, etc. So Paul is living with that narrative, and in particular within that. And you see this in the later rabbis, but it's clearly there in Maccabees as well. There are two figures from the ancient world, the ancient Jewish world, who Paul is identifying with, Elijah and Phinehas. They are the great messengers of zeal, if you like. Bad things are happening. We've got to do some sacred violence to stamp out the nonsense and get Israel back on track. And Paul is role modeling Phinehas and Elijah, and the texts which embody their stories are clearly present.
And he was very much part of this movement, wanting to keep the law better so that we hasten on this eventual...
And let's be quite clear, this is not, as used to be said in Protestant rhetoric, about earning my ticket to heaven or doing enough good works so that God will be pleased with me. It's God wants to renew and restore this world, and for the sake of that, he's called Israel to be his special people, his holy people, and so it's for the sake of God's purposes they have to do this and make more and more Jews do this stuff. So here's this bunch who are letting the side down and going off after a crucified Messiah. Who ever heard such nonsense? So Paul is off to do the Phinehas thing, the Elijah thing. These are like the new prophets of Baal, and we know what we have to do with them. And then, if you're in that mode, how do you pray? We know from everything Paul says, he was a person suffused with prayer, and there are standard Jewish prayers. And it's a guess, but I'm not the only one to make this guess, that on the road to Damascus he was meditating, like many people in his tradition did, on the throne chariot in the beginning of the book of Ezekiel, where the prophet sees the whirling wheels and then the chariot, and then his eye is raised up and he sees the figure sitting on the throne and he falls down, crash, as though dead, and then the prophet is commissioned, etc. I think Paul was meditating on the throne chariot, longing to get a glimpse of the God he'd worshipped all his life. And I think he gets to that glimpse, and it's Jesus of Nazareth. And simultaneously, all his life is fulfilled and all his life is shattered. And that is just the most devastating and the most fulfilling moment. And in a sense, he spends the rest of his life working out what that means and encouraging other people to explore with him what I wouldn't want to say forcing them to do and believe what, because you can't force people to do and believe that kind of stuff, but helping them to share the sense that Jesus really is Israel's Messiah.
For more conversations between Christians and skeptics, subscribe to the Unbelievable podcast. And for more updates and bonus content, sign up to the Unbelievable newsletter.